Hello, 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 and welcome back to Friendly Differences 2.0. Today is, what is today? Saturday, September 20th,
20th.
2025. All right, so I'm excited. I have Jordan Pav. She's back. She's back. And we have all the way from Scotland again. We have Bob. So it's like I have my two. Bob was my very first host, and Dread, she's still my host when she can be my host.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
by you may have to send me some photos so I can redo the thing because so because I'll show you in there too. But anyway, um, so we're gonna talk about. Well, you know what? Let me show the video first. Let me show the video, and we will go from there.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but was blind, but now I see.
Nothing played.
No.
Nothing played, and I just
It was
noticed
just
that nothing
black.
played. So you know what? Let me take it from.
Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. Be back with you shortly.
Hold on. Let me take it directly from the source. Then.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm taking it directly from TikTok. Okay.
In grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace.
Okay. So, all right. So, let's look at that video. Was there looting during George Floyd? Absolutely. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But let's look at the context. You can pick and choose and say, well, this is how people reacted to George Floyd, but you also have to look at the whole. And that's one thing that people don't do. And this is one thing that just bugs me is that if you're going to pick and choose, then that's fine. You're more than welcome to do that. But when when other people pick and choose, people want to say, "Oh, why do you want to talk about that? That happened so long ago." But it happened, and it's part of history. Just like George Floyd is part of history now. Charlie Kirk, it is part of history. If you're going to look back and you're going to tell stories, and this is where I have a problem with what's being taught in our schools, because you're not teaching the whole. You're picking and choosing. And growing up, I was in schools where I was taught certain things and a whole lot of other stuff was left out, and Charlie Kirk has, first of all, I care less about Charlie Kirk. I don't care. You know, um, he's dead. Um, George Floyd is dead. Um, Rodney King is dead. They are gone. Um, but there's a story behind them, and there's a story to why we got to this point. You may not have liked the type of person George Floyd was. Did he deserve to die how he did? You may not have liked the person that Martin Luther King was. Did he deserve to die the way he did? You may not have liked the person that Charlie Kirk was. Did he deserve to die the way he did? The fact is all these people were murdered. They were murdered. So you can say, oh, but y'all went out and you all looted, whatever. That was a small percent of the population. But if you want to look at everybody who was looting, white people were looting, black people were looting, Latinos were looting. There were a lot of people who were looting. But the media always shows one percentage. And if you look at the whole again, and you look at the people who riot, massacre, and loot the most, it's not black people, not by a long shot. So once again, the media is going to show you something because they always show that we're these terrible people. And,
Right.
Chicago, where I'm from, oh my God, it's so violent. Two neighborhoods are responsible for the majority of the violence in Chicago. Two neighborhoods are responsible for most of the gang violence. If you look at it on TV, Chicago's burning down. Oh my God, if I get off the plane, I'm going to be shot. And again, you have to look at the whole. And that's what bothers me is that people don't want to look at the whole. I can't say all white people are bad because one of my best friends I've known for 36 years, she is one of my dearest friends. And we have gone round and round, whatever, and we disagree, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're able to still laugh and joke. She's in an interracial marriage. Her kids are very much involved on both sides of the issue, whatever. But you have to look at the whole. And that's what I personally don't like. If you're going to pick and choose, then pick and choose and be honest and look at everything. Dread, Bob?
Do you want to go? Well, I'll go then. I'm responsible for sending Solid that clip, so I suppose it is on me. I came across that clip randomly scrolling through my TikTok and thought it was a good. It's not a good response, but it's definitely one that can be used in the question that I was asked a couple of weeks ago. I think actually, Dred, you were on the show where you guys asked Crucible, are white people better than black? And I thought that was a video that could kind of at least show in a way that why white people might think that because of the way that black people behaved after George Floyd. And again, I can't really disagree with your opening monologue, Solid. I think the media are guilty. There's no person more strong on that, and you know that from the first time I met you. I was always harping on about the media, and how much they take small percentages and bad behavior and blow them up and make them sound like they're, the whole population. And that is something that I'm passionate about, that they shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, like I'm not well versed in the history of America and all the riots, and I did look up today because I knew your topic of your show was going to be about riots. And to be fair, a lot of the top 10 riots, if you will, are all pretty much around race in America, and that they've resulted in a lot of black people being dead after them. So yeah, you've probably got that, but I feel like if this show is going to turn into one where it's point scoring and like you guys done this, we done this, the left did this, the right did this, that's exactly where I don't want it to go. Because when we talk about slavery, for example, I often say on previous shows, if I can bring up something and then you bring up something, it just becomes point scoring. I'd like to get to the bottom of why, as in we could talk about the media and why they do that to cause division. But maybe you've got a different angle on that. But yeah, I'll pass it over to Dread.
Well, the first thing I noticed was how blatant it was that they tried to make it seem that Charlie Kirk, his murder, it ushered in so much positivity, whereas George Floyd's death ushered in so much negativity. And I said, while I was watching it, I said, how disingenuous is this? Because so many other there's so many other they could have put so much more out of a black person hugging a white police officer. They could have put that out, but they didn't they didn't show white people on the front lines of George Floyd saying enough is enough. White silence is just the same as white violence. They didn't. That's positive, right? It's supposed to be positive when two black women from the United States can sit on a podcast with a white man from Scotland. Different cultures, different walks of life, but people. And I think that that's what the right is forgetting, is that we're all supposed to be people. And what's bothering them more than anything right now is that for the longest time, it's been the black person that caught the bullet. Medgar Evers died in his driveway in front of his wife and children. Malcolm X got pumped full of holes in front of his wife and 4 children. Many black men have met their end, their demise, in a violent way in front of their wife and children. But somehow or another, those black men who were just as outspoken as Charlie Kirk, they deserved it, but he didn't. And like I said, it comes down to humanity and all of us being people. And that's what the right does not understand. They don't want to understand it. And more now than ever, I think what's scaring everybody is that lines are being drawn in the sand, if you will. Before, racism was a gray area for some people, but for a lot of people, it is truly becoming black and white, those lines. Either you're over here or you're over there. So Charlie Kirk's murder did do its purpose.
You know, I don't like the whole right left thing, because there are some people on the left who I think are just some shitballs, and there are people on the right who I think are shitballs. And I don't think that you can. I mean, I don't think it's fair to say, well, the left is this, the right is this. However, when the Department of Justice has removed every single report that is saying that most terrorist attacks are from people on the right. I've always said that if a certain person gets assassinated for real, they really do it, it's not a publicity stunt, it's going to be someone from his own camp. Because usually stuff like that, it's an inside job. But it's going to be somebody from their own camp. But in terms of what Boss says, in terms of point scoring, I don't see it as, well, you did this and you did that. I see it as, well, if you're going to say this, then you have to justify that. You can't just pick out a little segment and say, well, just focus on this. Well, no, because you have to go back and you have to look at history. And they say, if you don't deal with the past, you're not going to be able to, the future is, the past is going to repeat itself. And that's what is happening, because no one wants to acknowledge what happened, because it keeps happening over and over and over. No one wants to see that it keeps happening. I said to a person, I'm not going to say this person's name. If y'all think y'all know who this person is, don't say this person's name. But we were having a discussion, and this is a discussion that I've had with many people. And I said, we were talking about white privilege. And some of the things that this person was saying, I was just like, whatever. And then I just said, you know what? Never mind. The bottom line is you don't want to lose your white privilege. And he said, you're absolutely right. And I said, you know what?
bet I know who it is. I bet I know who it is.
And I just said, would your answer? I'm not so surprised at your answer. I'm not pissed off at your answer. I knew that's how you feel. Then they tried to backtrack. I said, no, you've said it. I'm not. I said you don't want to lose your white privilege. You acknowledged it. Okay. This is what I'm saying. Just be honest of how you feel. Just, one thing that I'm happy that Trump did. When he came down that escalator in 2015, and he made that comment about the Mexicans being rapists and thieves and everything, I was happy he did that. Because what he did was he allowed all the people who thought like him to come out of the woodwork. I'd rather you talk about me in front of my face so I know who you are, as opposed to me having to watch my back. And there are a lot of people who were my friends, and some of the things that they've said, and then they look at me like, oh, well, I don't mean you. Well, who do you mean? My father, my son, my husband, my brother, my sister? Who do you mean? It's just like he allowed people to come out of the woodwork and say, well, if the person who is running for the highest office in America can say this, I can say it too.
Yeah.
When that little white boy went to school and grabbed that little girl's vagina and said, the president does it, I can do it too. Mm-hmm. He was 10. Mm-hmm. That's the point.
See the Charlie Kirk shooting, regardless of what happened and who did it and all that, that is my one true belief with what's going to happen going forward is the rhetoric that's built up from since 2016 when Trump got in office, and you've just mentioned what he brought to America with being blunt and bold. And I stick up for that in a way where I liked Trump in his first term. He was funny. This second term round, I don't. I think it's a lot darker and sinister and all that. And I think a lot of stuff is headed in that way. But weren't you just sick of politicians being asked questions and beating around the bush and trying every other way to not answer the question, media trained? And then you got Trump, who was bold and blatant and said it like just the average person. And that's why I think a lot of people think that he won, because of the things that he was saying versus Hillary Clinton in the debates about you'd go to jail. Like just being funny and open and honest and talking like the average person.
But the thing about it, is he wasn't being honest. He may have been funny to some people. He may have been open to some people. But was he honest?
No, well, that's fair enough. But what I was saying is all that rhetoric and hate, and it's boiled up to this point today. And I think what they're going to do is use Charlie Kirk's death to take away freedoms, whether it's your speech or your Second Amendment, because that's what, I mean, they've done it here in the UK. They've made a hate speech, I think, since last April. And it's just, I just see the world as, it's globalism. So each country will be going through their own little thing right now to silence people, to take away freedom of speech. And America are going to use Charlie Kirk's death to do that. And if it was obviously everyone knows in the show that's listening, they know I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. It doesn't matter about what we could believe it was. Someone on the left or someone on the right has shot Charlie Kirk. And that is because of the rhetoric that's built up. And like you just said, the allowance of some of the actions and things that are being done in America now. You could blame that on Trump because of the way he acts, the way he talks. And that's fair enough. But everyone, as you've always said, Solid, has personal responsibility to act and behave in their own way and not copy and do things. But again, I stand by what I say. I do think the rhetoric in America, and I've said it from day one, even before Trump, is like, you guys with your media platforms, your CNNs versus your Fox News, it's toxic. And again, I'm not saying we're a little bit better because we just have kind of like the one we've got BBC, and they kind of monopolize our media. But you guys are being played off against each other. And I said this in an audio note to you this week, Solid, about what was it again? Just about. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, jump in. I'll come back to it if it comes back to me.
I couldn't agree more about the division that is sown with the American people when it comes to the media. Like you said, you got Fox News versus CNN, OAN versus MSNBC, so you have one media network saying, hey, these people that look like this and look like this and speak like this and come from this country, they're a danger to the people in this country. Then you have the people over here saying, hey, let's let everybody in. Both sides are being dishonest and disingenuous. They refuse to report, hey, yeah, while 92% of Black people kill each other, 87% of white people kill each other. They refuse to kill the narrative. Each side refuses to kill their narrative. One that everybody belongs, which, hey, listen, if we're being completely honest here, when it comes to immigration, if you're in another war-torn country, you're trying to make a living here, you come here, great. If you were doing BS in your country, I want you to stay there for my safety. I don't think that's wrong. But that's part of being able to see both sides.
Yeah.
When you have someone who it's been drilled into their head since conception, drilled into their head that Black people, Latino people, these people are all terrible for you. So you grow up thinking anybody who doesn't look like you is bad, terrible. And then you have the media that's in front of you. You're not going to think anything else. Then you have these people that now believe that something is wrong with these people. The division is going to keep being sown because everybody is being dishonest and disingenuous. And bottom line, riots make money, right? The insurance companies are going to have a field day if something pops off around here, right? The pharmaceutical companies, they're going to have a field day, right? More people are going to get sick and injured. It's all a game, all of it.
Sorry, that's what it was. It was Barack Obama in 2013 overturned the Smith-Mundt Act. He modernized it, which allowed media outlets to propagate to Americans. You used to only be able to do it across seas. You could propagate overseas for different things, but you couldn't do it to your own people. And he overturned that. And I think that's one of the worst things that ever happened to the world, never mind America, because obviously we look at America. Us in the UK use America as an example, and we follow. That's why I'm not really interested in the UK politics. But the thing I was going to say was, I think the media, there's a story for this, and it's a story that can be put in three different ways, and that's what's happening in America. A story like George Floyd could happen, and there would be three different truths, if you will. CNN will run with their side, Fox News will run with their side, and there'll be a middle ground that will encompass both sides, but they'll have some, and that's what's happening. And people that just watch CNN, and I think the average American will just watch CNN and just watch Fox News. So, and even for me, like last week when I was on this show and Lloyd brought up about the theory that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was actually someone from the far right, I was stunned. I don't know if you noticed, I went all quiet because I was like, I haven't heard that. One, because I don't really watch news anymore. I'm not as engrossed in politics and media anymore. But two, it's just never been on my like Twitter and things. I've never came across that theory. Along with, I did see the press conference with the police officer or whoever it was saying about the bullet casings having engravings on it that would lead us to believe that this was a person on the left. So I was stunned. But that is what's going on in America, in the world, is that you're so engrossed in your own side's media outlets, you're almost cut off to what the truth is. and that's where the division's being caused. And that I think that's done by design. I truly do.
But wouldn't you say, because I do believe this is true, I think that America and I think the world is overdue for a race riot that one particular group has been pushing for. And I have to say this because not just because of Trump, but we have to again go back in history. Every generation has something. And I want to play this video. It's about 4 minutes long, but I learned it's about the Zoot Suit riots in Los Angeles, which I learned about 25 years ago. And it's fascinating to me, the reasons for this riot and what they did to Mexican Americans. It fascinates me, just the reasoning behind it. So give me a moment, and we're just going to go directly to YouTube. I'll probably get a strike, but what else is new? Okay.
In June of 1943, the city of Los Angeles experienced one of the most significant episodes of racial violence in the 20th century, known as the Zoot Suit Riots. Racial tensions had been rising in the city and were made only worse by the biased reporting of the Los Angeles media. When a group of American sailors attacked a group of mostly Mexican Americans in East LA, the city exploded. In hindsight, this seemed inevitable. With many young men overseas as a result of World War II, labor in the United States was in short supply. So in 1942, the U.S. government reached a deal with Mexico named the Bracero Program, which allowed some Mexican citizens to move to the U.S. as temporary workers. Los Angeles already had a large Mexican-American population, but this new influx of workers provoked greater racial animosity. Much of the white population, whose views were echoed in the mass media, blamed Mexican-American teenagers and young adults for various issues in the city, especially crime. Even the way Mexican Americans dressed angered the city's more conservative population. Many young Mexican Americans started donning the Zoot Suit, a style that incorporated an oversized coat, pork pie hat, long chain, thick-soled shoes, and baggy pants. This fashion evolved out of Harlem nightclubs and was popularized by cultural icons like Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. The suits themselves weren't inherently offensive, but in the context of World War II, they were. You see, during the war, wool had been rationed in order to make uniforms for the troops. The very manufacturing of zoot suits, with their excessive use of fabric, was banned. But a black market developed, and so those zoot suit-wearing Mexican Americans, known as pachucos, were seen as unpatriotic. On the night of August 1st, 1942, pachucos were involved in a brawl in a home near Los Angeles' Sleepy Lagoon. The next morning, the body of Jose Diaz was discovered nearby. The media and police quickly blamed the zoot suit-wearing 38th Street gang. Hundreds of pachucos were rounded up, regardless of affiliation. 22 were eventually found guilty for the Sleepy Lagoon murder in what was later considered a great miscarriage of justice. To some, the verdict was grossly unfair. To others, it confirmed what they already believed, that the zoot suit wearers were inherently violent. This all helped to create a powder keg bound to explode. A few months later, a group of 16 American sailors stationed in Los Angeles claimed they were verbally taunted by a group of Pachuco zoot suiters. Seeking retaliation, the servicemen took cabs over to the Mexican neighborhoods in East LA and started attacking those wearing zoot suits with makeshift weapons. The Pachucos were thrown into the street, their zoot suits torn off and burned on the spot. The ensuing riot continued to snowball over the following days. Violence spread to include both Pachucos and young African-American men. But instead of arresting the attackers, police arrested the victims, supposedly for their own protection. By June 8th, the rioting had become so severe that all military personnel were banned from Los Angeles, and military police were brought in to subdue the attackers. Miraculously, no one was killed, but the impact of the Zoot Suit riots would reach far beyond the number of casualties. Once the dust had settled, Governor Earl Warren commissioned a report that was meant to paint Californians in a more positive light. Instead, the Independent Citizens Commission found the chief cause of the riots was racism, naming the city's newspapers for encouraging the riots and the city government and U.S. military for allowing those riots to continue. Historians view the Zoot Suit riots as a culmination of anti-Mexican racism that had been building for years in Los Angeles, exacerbated by the stresses of World War II. The riots forced the country to face these problems head-on and confront the systemic oppression faced by Mexican Americans in Los Angeles and throughout the country.
Okay, so
Why does it always have to be this way? You ever notice that? Hey, Lloyd.
yeah, Lloyd, I don't know if you were able to see the video. Not sure if you were or not. But
I'm aware. I'm very familiar with the Zoot Suit riots.
okay, so but you look at this, and again, I say you have to look at the whole. And one thing that was also going on during that time, which this video did not mention, you had a lot of Mexican American women who were openly raped in the streets. And they were not raped by other Mexican Americans. They were raped by sailors. So again, I go back to that when we want to talk about riots and say, oh my God, this is what happened. This is what happened. And again, I go back to the looting thing. I don't know why people want to loot during riots. I just don't get it. I think it's wrong. But in terms of protests and why people protest, and I'm speaking as a Black person, the culmination of everything that just builds up and it just pisses you off. I remember going on vacation, and I mentioned this last week. I remember going on vacation with my parents, and there were times when my father, who I used to it used to kill me, the humiliation that he went through, having to ask a white person to rent a hotel room for us. We could have done the green book. I have the green book. We could have done that. My mother refused to do that. She says, I'm not doing that. I'm staying here. I'm on vacation. I can afford it. I want to stay here. I want to stay in this hotel. I want to walk into the lobby. I want to walk up to our room. This is where I want to stay. So it's a culmination of, you go through this, and, it's like, I can't tell you how many times I've been called the N-word since I was little. I was called one 2 months ago. It's something that I live with. It's something that is expected. Shorty was in town. We went to the Cheesecake Factory. And she said, and he said this on Discord last night, that's the most bougie place that I have ever been. And when we were there, she said, and we were driving there, and she's looking around, she's like, and I'm just, it's nothing to me, whatever. But I don't feel that people should have to, feel a certain way to go into a restaurant, to go into a store, to go anywhere without being labeled. That person's going to steal. That person's going to do this. That person's going to do that. And the funny thing about it is, while they're holding us, The people who are running out this door with stuff don't look like me. They don't look like me. You know, I'm like,
But that's just, but solid. That's just it. They don't look like me. The problem with the right now is that he does look like them. He's a good old American boy. Father was a veteran of the police for 27 years. He's a pastor now. Ever since he could hold a sippy cup, he had a gun in his hand. Good old American boy. And you saw my video on TikTok. They thought that he was going to be black, brown, trans, gay, lesbian, liberal, Democrat, whatever.
but
He wasn't that. He looks like them.
But you look at January 6th, and again, this is why I say, you have to look at it, because all we heard, well, first of all, Fox News did not cover it at all. They did not cover it at all. And then when what's his name? What's the one that got fired?
Tucker Carlson.
When Tucker Carlson, he when he finally put something up, he put up when they were walking, when they were being escorted out, and they were in the quietly, whatever. They're like, oh, these are people that write. But all we heard was it was Antifa, it was Black Lives Matter. It's like you're looking at this like, where's Antifa? Where's Black Lives Matter? I'm Antifa. I am Antifa, y'all. Antifa is a thought of mine. Antifa is anti-fascist. That is what Antifa stands for. I am Antifa, proudly. But you look at this, and plus, if it was Antifa, if it was Black Lives Matter, first of all, they never would have gotten to the Capitol steps, and if they did, it would have been black bodies all dead, unalive on the Capitol steps. The military would have been called out, and they would have been whatever. So again, when you want to look at Charlie Kirk, you are right. Charlie Kirk has opened the door for the government to do whatever they want and say, we're going to start to control you. Look at Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel just lost his job
and Colbert too.
Yes.
And he's calling for Fallon.
That they said about Jimmy Kimmel. But how many years have we had to listen to people talking about Obama?
And they're calling for Fallon and Seth Meyers.
It's like, y'all gonna, that's why I say, if you're gonna do stuff, look at the whole, because anybody? And I'm not trying to one up. I'm not trying to I'm just looking at everything, because this country is just so, America is just so steeped in so much racism, in so much violence, in so much, just
So
is it? Oh, on you go, Lloyd.
yeah, my daughter will be out here shortly, and I got to get off. So the title of today is the history of rioting, correct?
Rioting and protests.
Okay, so it's all about who gets to frame it and tell the story, and that's what they get to call it. And the Boston Tea Party was called a protest, not a riot, because guess who got to write what it was? Whenever you see the Haitian, when they called the Haitians during the Haitian Revolution, they called them rioters. When America went to Haiti and took it over, they called them the rebels, right? Because they get to call them what they want to. But when white people do it, when you look at what happened in January 6th, that was a protest. Those were Americans being American. But if Black Lives Matter walks down the street, those are rioters. The Zoot Suit, same thing. Those are good Americans going down there beating up them the Zoot Suiters. It was the Zoot Suiters. It was their problem. They were the rioters. They were the ones who were doing things wrong. But it all when NFL teams win and they want to go flip over cars and set things on fire, it's a joyous occasion. But if we set things on fire because somebody has a foot on their a knee on their neck for 9 minutes and 30 seconds, for some reason we're rioters. And so it's how they always want to frame what it wants to be, how they want to write it. And so what we have to do is it's our job to correct the narrative and Black Thought said it. It's imperative that we correct the narrative. And if we don't correct the narrative, then who will? Narratives is what's being framed right now. When you look at how they're trying to narrate slavery, how they're trying to narrate not just slavery, but how they're trying to narrate the founding fathers. Those narratives are what's going to tell the victors and the winners and the victors of today. And so it's our job that we continue to give the correct narrative and perspective on things. So we block these bad narratives and these bad perspectives. The other day, someone told me in my comment section, when I said I don't celebrate nor do I mourn what happened to Charlie Kirk, he said, "You're an awful person." And I asked him, I was like, I don't understand. You want me to mourn somebody, but what about the children whose lives were taken out of school the same day? Do I mourn them too? Can we get a day named after? In fact, we just crossed the 4 little girls who were killed in Alabama. What about them? Do they have a national day for them too? 6 people were killed that day. 2 boys were also killed.
Let him cook.
There he is. You are back. So yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my daughter's calling me asking me where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm parked out in the parking lot, but that's all I got. I wanted to come. I thought we were gonna have a lot more time, but I guess her group is out and she's over here doing community service for
thank you.
ROTC.
Thank you for coming on. And you should have left your hair in the twist.
Oh, I can do that in a heartbeat. All I gotta do is get the little thing and I twist them out.
No, I like the way you were rocking the twist last week. So
thank you. Well, I'm so happy I got to see my friend Dred. I seen Dred. I went in on the YouTube side. I said, "Dred's there. Let me go over there to it."
Yeah, vacation.
Well, thanks for popping on, Lori.
Hey, my brother, I thank you so much. It's always good to see you too. Y'all all take care, and I will see y'all later. Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh boy! Now
I love what he said about narrative. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, because let me do this real quick because I remember when this happened. This was when the Chicago Bulls from 1992.
Cab drivers are out of the cars, and to our knowledge, they were not removed forcibly or with any injury to them.
We saw it.
But let us show you how this whole event began. Believe it or not, this street was empty at one time, and when we got the final gun in this event, in this second championship for the Chicago Bulls, here you see it. The street's filling up. You see the 2 taxi cabs there on the right. And it was just moments before this street was an ocean of people. Now, Carol, let me tell you one thing, referring again back to last year. It was our experience that really this event went on for about an hour. They got the celebrating out of the system, and the crowd started to disperse and go off into the neighborhoods or into other areas to celebrate. For the time being, though, we must tell you, it appears that this crowd is building here at Russian Division. And for the time being, the 90 Chicago police officers assigned to this particular event are just having to stand back and watch.
All right, Phil, we'll check back with you a little bit later. We go now to marching.
Okay.
What was going on there?
They were jumping on cabs and they were destroying the cabs. And I'm just saying that you didn't see us. You didn't see us. And I remember going to work the next day because I parked in this underground parking thing, and they had towed the 2 cabs to a towing place that was next to where I parked. And the cabs were they were destroyed. They were like, but again, that is not the first time. Every time Chicago has won a championship, they have gone out and they have not looted, but store windows were broken, fires were started, all this over a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, again, you have to look at the whole, because if it was us, we would have been arrested.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel sorry for these cab drivers because And these cab drivers, I want to say Oprah. I'm not sure, but there were some people with money who because these cabs belong to these cab drivers. They own these cabs,
Right.
and they went out and the cabs were replaced. But the fact that they started jumping on the cabs when the cab drivers were still in the cars, and like they said, both cab drivers were out. But the fact still stands is you're just not only you destroying my property, but I'm in here and you could have killed me. So again, it's why do people riot? That started as a celebration, which to me turned into a riot because of what they did. But people get excited. The adrenaline starts. We just won a basketball championship, the very first one, that we've been trying to win, and they go out and do this. When the Cubs won, the Cubs had the Billy Goat curse on them for 101 years. You should have seen the way Chicago reacted when the Cubs won. They went crazy. I mean, and they destroyed property. They destroyed property. So it's like,
How does a riot even get started?
I'm just saying that when you have to look and just see, it's not, and for that, it wasn't the left or the right. You have people out there who, for whatever reason, they want to just go out there. And again, these people were excited. Probably their friend got up there. Well, let me get up there too. And they've just been drinking in bars and all this other stuff. But the fact still stands is you all still did it. You got away with it. No one was arrested. These people lost their livelihood until their cars were replaced. So
Did anyone die?
no. So but I don't know. I mean, protests and riots.
Is it a fine line? It is not. Because you said, like you said, every time Chicago wins, they tear the roof off. Okay, they're not protesting anything; they're celebrating. And it seems that now in the media, whenever it's a protest, they usually have to say it was a peaceful protest to keep it from to keep those lines from blurring, if you will. If you say it's a peaceful protest.
But look at how many peaceful protests we've had that have turned
into riots
and violent, not because of something, because of somebody else. And
are you alluding to like a small minority coming into a riot and starting a lot of shit that ends up?
I'm saying that you do have that one particular group that is small, that does go in and they stir up things and they start things, and I'm not even saying racism. I'm saying that's why I said when Lloyd was talking about the celebrations and stuff, I said, because I remembered that. And we look at all of the riots that have started out as peaceful protests that were in unions, when unions were, and it turned into this whole big thing and people died. So, it's like, who is the crux of it? If you look at the whole, because I really did research on this, the majority of the riots in America that have started were not by Black people. They were not. You look at the massacres. They weren't by us. You look at the just the things that were done. It's like you look at the bloody summer of 1919 in Chicago, where if you were swimming in Lake Michigan, there was this imaginary line, and you had a black man who crossed over in the water. Okay, we're talking about imaginary line in the water, crossed over this imaginary line, and that turned into a 3-day riot where white people died, black people died, homes were burned, people were lynched, all because somebody swam across this imaginary line. You know, you go home to your family, and if you were white, your mother may have been killed, your father may have been killed. If you were black, your mother may have been killed, your father may have been killed. Both sides lose. Both sides lose. You know, that's why I don't like war. You know, I don't care whether you're Palestinian, Jewish, Russian, American, Scottish, whatever. Somebody is going to lose a parent, a brother, a sister. Somebody's not coming home. All because the people upstairs are greedy and they want more.
We're talking about Charlie Kirk. I think that it's only fair that we acknowledge that since Charlie Kirk's murder, 3 black men have been found hanging. One was, of course, a Delta at a university. They've ruled his death a suicide.
They've all been ruled suicides, and black people don't kill themselves by hanging.
The young man that was just found hanging in Albany, I believe, either yesterday or 2 days ago, and unfortunately, I can't remember the third young man that was found hanging. But this goes to the heart of narrative and what's pushed out, and the cognitive dissonance, and as I keep saying, the disingenuous thought process. They want to make it seem like Charlie Kirk didn't stand for violence and hate and bigotry, but he said that black people should have never been freed as slaves because we did better as slaves. He also said that the 1964 civil rights movement and law was a mistake because we were doing better when we were segregated. That was Jim Crow. So acknowledge those 3 black men that even though Jim Crow has been abolished, I guess the death of one white man is going to trigger a domino effect, because let's be real about this. They want to erase history, but it's always because of one white person that 200 black people will die. It is because of Charlie Kirk's hatred and bigotry that more black men, Hispanic men, indigenous women, they will die, and they will be sexually assaulted because of the narrative that has been pushed out by Donald Trump, by Charlie Kirk, by Candace Owens, by all of those right-wing MAGA nuts. Yes, I will say it freely. And all I can say to anybody out there that's listening, make sure you're on the right side of history, because history is unfolding right before our very eyes. The revolution will not be televised. Oh, it's being televised.
It is
on
being
TikTok,
televised. It is
on
being
TikTok, on
televised.
Instagram. We're watching it unfold in real time. And the reason why we have a fascist and we're on our way to a dictatorship in America, folks, is because nobody paid attention in history. And everybody thought when we were studying history that it couldn't happen here. Nobody thinks the Holocaust.
But you can't say it. If, first of all, it can happen anywhere. Okay, it can happen anywhere. But again, America is steeped in so much violence. It just is. And I just don't understand why people don't want to acknowledge it. You don't want to acknowledge something that's right there. You know, you can try to take this statue down, take this down, put this away, whatever. But the fact still stands is that it happened. And I am 100%, Jared, I know you disagree with me on this. I am 100% against taking down the Confederate statues. I believe they should remain. I think that they should have remained up, but they needed to tell the truth about it. Let the Confederate statue of Robert E. Lee, let it stay in the Central Park or wherever the hell it was. Let it stay there. But tell the truth about who Robert E. Lee was. Tell the truth about Columbus. There's a reason why Columbus Day now is now shared with Indigenous Persons Day, because of what Columbus did to the Native American people. It was disgusting. It was a crime. In his own words, if you ever read in his writing, they duplicated in his writing, his journal, what Columbus did when he first came over and discovered America. First of all, he didn't discover America. He wasn't even in America. Okay. But in his own writing, how they used to take babies of Native Americans, and his soldiers would bet on who can bust the head the most from how far. And they would take these babies and they would slam them up against walls. You look at the alligator babies of Florida. They wanted Florida, and Ron DeSantis is trying so hard to get rid of the history of alligator babies. But you have people who that happened to, where their babies were fed to alligators, that they remember this stuff, the history. And that's why I say that you need to pass these stories, even not just bad stories. You need to pass down good stories. You need to pass down things that were fantastic. I mean, Bob, when I was asking you about, about the Scottish Olympic runner, it's like, I love history. And this was like back in the 20s. And his story is just so fascinating to me. He was one of the best Olympic runners of all time. So, we need to talk about, we need to have the hard conversation, and we need to acknowledge it, because I will acknowledge there are some Black people out there. I look at them and I just shake my head. I'm like, what the are y'all doing? I mean, seriously, it's like, what the hell are you all doing? But at the same time, I think that Latinos need to look at their own people and say, what the hell are you doing? I think white people need to look at their own people and say, what the hell are you doing? Asians need to look at their people and say, what the hell are you doing? Because we can correct other people, but then it's like, oh, now you're being racist. Oh, and you're trying to tell me this. You need to correct your own people. And you need to acknowledge what your own people are doing that is wrong. Because I have talked to many a Black person who didn't want to hear it. And it's like, okay, all right. But you want to know why you can't do this? Because they think we are this.
Well, according to Charlie Kirk, you and I are DEI hires, solid. We don't deserve to be here.
And then the whole DEI thing, you look around, you see what Doge did. Doge went in and they just cleaned house with everybody.
Yeah.
You have white people who lost their jobs and lost very good federal jobs that they would have had forever. That they would have had, they would have had those jobs forever, but now they don't. And they were like, well, it wasn't supposed to happen to us. It was supposed to happen to them. Oh, so now you're concerned because it happened to you.
Yes.
So I want to. This is really quick, really quick. Again, because I'm trying to be fair.
The Harlem Riot of 1943 was a significant civil disturbance in New York City's Harlem neighborhood during World War II. It started on August 1, 1943, fueled by racial tensions, economic disparities, and social inequality faced by African Americans. The immediate trigger was an incident involving an African American soldier and a white police officer. The riot resulted in violence, looting, and clashes between residents and law enforcement. The event exposed deep-seated racial inequalities and sparked discussions on civil rights. It urged the need for social and economic reforms to address discrimination and uplift marginalized communities. The Harlem Riot of 1943 remains a reminder of the ongoing struggle for equality and justice in the United States. The Harlem Riot.
Okay, that's not what I wanted to show. I wanted to show the Haymarket riot. It was between the union, people who were in the union, and the police officers. And what the police officers did to those union workers. But I think another reason why riots start, that are peaceful protests and start and turn into riots, I think that law enforcement is a huge part of it. I think that some law enforcement people get over anxious, and instead of just letting them have their peaceful protests, they turn it into something ugly. Look at Tiananmen Square in China. That was a peaceful protest until they were like, "No, y'all not gonna sit in front of a tank. We're gonna start arresting you and doing other things to you." You know, people don't like peaceful protests. They don't. It just takes one person in a crowd to say "screw you" and throw a rock. You don't know where that rock came from.
I want to ask Lloyd something though.
Person. No, go ahead.
It does. It always takes one person. But Lloyd, you said, why are protests peaceful? Protests are not supposed to be peaceful. A sit-in is a peaceful protest.
Okay, so this is so we're conflating a lot of different words, and I said that because even if you and I just did a quick chat GPT, what's the difference between a riot, a protest, and rebellion? And when we conflate these things, we must understand. It says here, a protest is a public expression of objection, disapproval, or dissent, usually directed at a policy, event, or authority. It can be peaceful, sit-ins, marches, boycotts, demonstrations, aimed at drawing attention or raising awareness or demanding change, or it's protected by free speech. Then you get to a riot. What is a riot? A riot is a violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd. Now, often spontaneous, fueled by anger, frustration, or a triggering event. So when you go to what happened in the riots of, or the long summer of, or the red summer of 1919, or the long hot summer of 1967, you're looking at riots, right? Usually seen as disorderly and destructive, not organized or long-term. Then you got rebellion. A rebellion is an organized, often aimed resistance against authority, government, or established systems, more coordinated and sustained than a riot. So you have your protest, which is something that's planned. You're going to go out here, you're going to do this, you're doing it against this reason. Maybe it's a boycott, maybe it's a sit-in. Then you have your riot. We're upset. Now someone just did something to make us really mad. It's a combustion. When you look at what happened in 67, when they actually did the riot manual, which they would actually come out with, the Kerner's report of 1967 came out and said, how did it happen? What happened? And what can we stop to make it happen again? That is one of the biggest reports ever published, was the Kerner's report. The Macomb report happened after the riot of 65, what happened in Watts. Every single one of these riots, believe it or not, there is a report that's always published. Then years later, then the last one that we had was the Ferguson report. And every single one of these reports say the same thing: racism, no jobs, police are not being right toward black people. All these things are the center of it. No education, no health care, all these different things. And so it boils to the point where people are exploited, and now that's the powder keg of a riot. A protest is like the Montgomery bus boycott. Then you have a rebellion. Rebellion is, hey, this is a long planning situation. Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, the Haitian Revolution. These are things where they all have these different planning. Hey, we're going to do this, and this one's going to go down, and we're not going to stop until it's over. And so we can't conflate. So we have to understand the difference between when we say, what's the history of rioting? You must understand there's a history of rioting, there's a history of protest, but then there's also a history of righteous rebellion. And I think we have to understand those differences.
Do you think the Montgomery bus boycott was also violent? Because for the year that they stayed off the buses, they were also harassed, they were beaten.
But violent for who? You know what I'm saying? The people that was doing it wasn't violent.
No, right. But what I'm saying is even in every peaceful boycott and every peaceful protest, it's always going to be one person who makes it more than they're going to make it violent.
Well, but all right. So now we got to understand a protest like the Montgomery bus boycott has a different type of violence. You know what that violence is? We're going to shut down your money system. Oh, for lawmakers and politicians, oh, that hurts. That's violence.
Right, and because that money and I still say that that's what needs to happen here on a mass scale, because like I said, you have 35% of black people just stop spending money for 1 week, it can shut this country down. So but when you look at protests, I don't know. I just think that you have peaceful protests, you have boycotts, you have somebody just walking down the street, I just want to go to school. And you got a mob of people after them, just calling them all kinds of names. All I want to do is I just want to go to school. I just want to walk down the street. I mean, all I want to do is do this.
Think about it. Who got the most mad when Colin Kaepernick took a knee? How peaceful can you be to take a knee?
And I will say, black people failed Colin Kaepernick on a humongous scale.
Yeah,
on a humongous scale. We failed on
in other words, our protest.
I totally get it. All he did was kneel, and people lost their damn minds. All he did was kneel, and he lost their mind. But then again, people lost their mind when Barack Obama
wore a tan suit.
When he wore that, I mean, Fox News could not get over Barack Obama and that tan suit. So you look at this stuff, it is just so silly. I mean, when you just get down to the meat of it, you just look at, that's why I just look at it, and it's like, I don't get it. It's like, it has me scratching my head, like, what just happened here? I mean, why did this happen? Colin Kaepernick lost his career because he took a knee. And I had a friend of mine tell me, well, he was raised in a white family. What does he have anything to complain about?
Oh.
And I looked at her, I'm like, seriously? We were at Marie Callender's having breakfast. And she said, yeah. And I just looked at her and I was like, you don't understand. And she's like, well, help me understand. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell her. And then it just got to the point where, what does that have to do with anything?
She said he was raised in a white family. What does he have to complain about? Is that correct? She said that?
Yes. And she's one of the people that that we've slowly, and it's like, I don't know. I again, this is why I say when I watch the news, because ever since November I really haven't been watching anything much. I watch MSNBC, I watch Fox News, I watch BBC, I watch. There's this Chinese station that translates into English that I watch, and the reason why I watch all these things is because I want to hear what everybody's talking about. I want to hear what everybody has to say. I want to be able to, if I'm going to have an intelligent conversation, I want to be able to talk about everything. I want to be able to be part of the conversation. I have read books from that have been written um, uh, by people on the right. I've read a lot of their books. I disagree with them, but I've read them because I want to see what are you talking about. What are you talking about? You know, do I have that up here? But I still say, uh, let's see. This is a book that all y'all need to read. Our Hidden Conversations.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Do tell.
And what Americans really think about race and identity. And they talk about a lot. I mean, every group talks about what they're saying behind closed doors. And it's a book where you're like, some things you're like, okay, yeah, I figured that. And some people are like, really? Really, whatever. And you know, it's
Found
it's
it.
like it's like the woman from Tennessee, the 89-year-old woman from Tennessee who got upset because her maid was sitting at the table with her daughter and they were having lunch. And she made the comment, why is this in sitting here? And she's like, "Well, Mom, it's so and so. She just got finished cooking this, whatever." And she says, well, she may cook my food. I didn't say she can sit at my table and eat it. And you just look at this stuff, and it's like, this is why people protest. This is why things turn into um, riots.
So did you hear about the latest protests?
Do tell.
So October 14th, officially it was supposed to be Charlie Kirk Day. It's also the birthday of George Floyd.
Yeah.
So they just happen to be on the same day. They both happen to be born on the same day. Mm-hmm. And I would like to know what Bahram thinks about. Like people are now saying, since they want to celebrate Charlie Kirk Day, they're going to have a George Floyd protest or get-togethers on that same day with George Floyd stuff and George Floyd it out on Charlie Kirk Day. What do you think about that, brother?
That doesn't surprise me at all. Did Biden not make Easter trans or Pride Day or something like that? Like that again, more division. I just
Pride was born out of something else.
No, I feel like when Biden last Easter, 2024, did he not make Pride Day or something to do with LGBT the same day of Easter? It was basically.
I didn't hear about that. What was the reason for doing that?
I could be wrong.
I remember that.
Oh,
no, you're not wrong. He did it last year. It was Trans Awareness Day. It was something.
I mean, why on Easter? I mean, what was the purpose of doing it on Easter?
Well, I'm sure you can guess.
I have no clue, but yes, I remember that. Good call, Bob. I remember that.
I mean, my question: did he do it because Easter's supposed to be like the He is risen Easter Sunday, someone coming up? Is that it was it a mock toward a holy day of everybody showing up the church in white? Let's go ahead and put some rainbows in there. I don't know, but my thing is
it's just causing division and people fall for it. That's what I've not said much. I'm sure you are like in the show because see everything. And don't take this wrong. Everything that you guys have said on this panel, and it could be a different three people. I can't take what you have said for truth. I'm not saying you're lying, but I have to now go away. The suit thing, never heard of it, but I will now go away, and I guarantee there's a different side to it. Just like Lloyd was saying, and I applaud you. Like your rant before when you were in the car was perfect, but we seem to like go back and like the narrative, like with George Floyd, he was made a martyr. On one side, he was a martyr, didn't deserve to die. I agree with that. But on the other side, he was in jail, 4 or 5 times, held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. But yet then after hearing that, you're like, okay, and then you go back to spouting your side again. Sorry, you guys were saying about you're labeled this, they guys were labeled that, then on this riot, they were labeled that. I'm sure you're using the labels from your side. But I'm sure if I was to go and listen to, for example, Fox News's version of the Zooters, I would see there would be some
riots, right?
So basically, the bottom line is we're sitting here arguing or point scoring, and I know you say you're not, but
I don't think, but it's not. I think that this is where I think that we disagree by is that you see it as point scoring. I don't see it as point scoring. I see it as, again, you have to look at history. You have, because, and I don't look at, and I'm not saying the right is doing this, the left is doing this, whatever. I look at that because there are racist people who are on the left. There are racist people who are on the right. George Floyd holding a gun. Yes, I know he did that. But my thing is, he held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. Did he deserve to die with a policeman's knee on his neck? Did he deserve that?
No.
He was, it's like he did bad things. But a lot of people have done bad things. We have police officers who beat the crap out of their wives, beat the living daylight out of them. But when they call for reinforcements, other police officers will go to that wife and say, calm down. He's under a lot of stress. They protect the blue. But the next door neighbor whose husband is beating the crap out of them, they're all ready to go in and we're going to arrest them and we are going to do that. It's not right. And I'm not trying to point score. I'm pointing out things that this is what happens. You can go and the zoot suit thing, there could be an entirely different story. You're absolutely right. But the bottom line is you still had people who died. I'm sorry, you had people that died. You still had people that got beat up. You still had people who were arrested. I mean, there's just so many. There are just so many things that you have to look at, so many components. You just can't look at one thing. You have to look at the whole. And that is what I do. I look at everything. And believe me, there are some Latinos out there that I could care less about. You all know how I am about immigration. I think if you don't come out over here the right way, go home. Go home. Because I'm tired of my tax dollars taking care of you. Go home. And I just want to say one more thing. This is another book you all should read. We the People Are the Problem. This is a very short read. It's a very good book where it talks about every single person in this country is the problem. We're all the problem.
I was always a problem.
But so again, see the two books you've just held up. I'm just shaking my head because it's the first book. What was it called? I'll start with that book. We Are the Problem. It's the whole thing. I have a disagree.
Hidden conversation.
Yeah. Now that is just causing. It's just poking the bear. You go read that and you go, is that what they think of me?
But
Oh,
is it okay? But is it poking the bear? But at the same time, it's like, I look at somebody like Lloyd, who I know reads a ton of books, and I've read I've read books and whatever. Whether you agree with it or not, I read Tucker Carlson's book. I didn't buy it. I went to the library and I read it, but I I read a lot of different things by. I This is why I watch different news channels, because I want to hear what everyone is saying. You may not agree with what that person's saying, and yes, this person's going to have their side of the story. Your two kids, your kid goes to school and gets into a fight. It's going to be your kid's side of the story. It's going to be their side of the story. We're at the point now where you have to have cameras. You have to have cameras that's going to show the real side and what happened. And
But what I was saying earlier about was there is a concerted effort there's a word called ghost line. It's almost like settler colonialism, to erase the lived experiences of those who went through it. And so when you read one person's narrative, or would you say the European narrative of the Zusu riots, what they do is they ghost line, or should I say use this word, or they replace the narrative or do not give voice to the people that went through it. If we were to go back to World War II and see that they took and made the Japanese internment camps, if you only hear United States' side of it and says, "Oh, we felt that the Japanese were a threat to American people because of what just happened," people would sit there and say, "Then it was just to lock them up and put them in these cages or these concentration camps." But then when you hear the stories of the Japanese Americans, of how they were very much American, we loved being America. We loved being here. We came here and we did this, we did that. We helped build this, and now we're being rounded up on the streets and put into internment camps. If you ghostline their stories, then the person that did it gets to look like the victor, and their stories looks good. So we have got to learn how to see history through the lens of everybody's story, and then therefore we can put it together. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not if I hear their story, it's I have to believe the lived experience of those people who suffered, not the victors, of those people who suffered, because the ones that suffer is going to tell a different story than the victors.
Yeah, I use the example of Russia and Ukraine right now. Like the Russian people, my brother-in-law is Russian. He went back home to see his grandmother last year, and I asked him. He doesn't give much away, but you think the Russian people right now are being told that they're the evil people and that Putin's evil, or do you think they're sitting going, the Ukrainians and Zelensky's evil? There's two sides to every story, and we as people choose to follow one. And here's another one, Solid. You've heard of it used to be Big Six, now it's Big Five. The Big Five organizations that every single channel, every single news outlet is owned by the Big Five. So you're not really listening to, different sides. Really, I get it. You're listening to angles, but ultimately these outlets are being funded by the Big Five, and what goes through them.
And you're absolutely right. But at the same time, at least I'm making an effort.
Yeah, no, I applaud you for that.
Trying to see the one side. I mean, I know somebody who he only watches one particular station, and he will only listen to one particular news person. It's like you're not getting everything, and that's another reason why I like to read about different things. And I'm just going to show this real quick, because Dred and we both saw this. I saw it when I was in New Jersey. We went to see Shin Yun. I'm pretty sure you all have seen the things, whatever. And it's like, this was a history of China that is banned in China. They consider this communist, but we went to see it, and it was fantastic. And again, this is just me wanting to broaden my own, I want to see everything. I have seen Russian shows, I've seen Russian plays and things from the UK. I believe that you should, take your family to see different things and go to art museums and see everything. Just don't go and see a Black history art, whatever. Go see, what the Europeans did. Go see what the Asians are doing. You need to broaden your mind so you have a perspective of everything. I want to be able to join the conversation and be able to talk about everything. And having experienced a lot of things that you probably will never, but at the same time, you have experienced things that I would never. So you know, you can't discount it and say, you're keeping score, whatever, because everybody has their own story. And as a boomer, I remember a lot of things that happened. I mean, I remember when Martin Luther King was killed. I saw my father cry two times in my life. One was when Martin Luther King was killed, and the other time was when his mother passed. It was the only two times I actually saw my father break down and cry. And the whole mood of that day, I remember just being in the kitchen with my parents, and they were just quiet. There are things that we're living history. We live history every single day.
I call BS. You ain't that old.
So but and Lloyd, I went because I always go back and I watch the shows. I still disagree with you on your whole mourning thing, on who you mourn when you say you don't mourn George James Earl Jones and what have you. I get that. I understand your reasoning why, but then again, you have other people that do. I mean, everybody has a reason. You mourn who you want to mourn.
I'm not mad when other people do.
You're right, and I'm not mad that you that you don't. But you have some people who are going to be, like you said, get mad at you and say, "Oh my God, how can you? Oh my God." It's like you mourn who you want to mourn. You like who you want to like. You love who you want to love. But this country has a history. The Europe has a huge history. And if you go back and you look at the history of the UK, going all the way back to King Arthur, it's like just the stuff that went on, and the fight between the Scottish. I mean, all that stuff just fascinates me. And whether I'm reading it out of a book or seeing it on TV or whatever, it's I have that book,
Solid, if I may. No, I'm sorry, Lloyd. You were go ahead. The floor is yours. Good. Now you brought up Shen Yun, and by you should actually, when you look up what our country is doing, you'll always hear them say, "Oh, China does this and China does that," right? What they should pay attention to is the fact that Shen Yun cannot do that play in China. It is outlawed.
It has been banned, and President Xi has said that if anybody who is associated with Shen Yun at all,
they will be arrested.
They will be arrested, and they will.
If they set foot in China, they will be arrested just for performing.
Just for
this
performing.
play. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I always say about history is that most of the atrocities that have happened they happen because no one thought they could happen. No one thought that the Crusades could happen, that over 1,000 Muslims would be beheaded just because somebody believed in a different God. No one thought that the Holocaust could happen. No one thought that hate could have that much prevalence. Hate, miseducation, bigotry, all of it could have such an impact on history. So what we're seeing right now in 2025, we just saw 2 comedians taken off the air because somebody didn't like what they said. They didn't defame anyone. They didn't slander anyone. Their First Amendment right is supposed to be protected. Nobody ever thought that this could happen, but it's happening right here and now. To a point where people are afraid to even say this man's name on television. People are getting fired for not mourning Charlie Kirk the correct way.
But we have a history of that, Dre. No, we have a strong history of that. I mean, Billie Holiday, Strange Fruit, Don't Sing It No More. FBI, you're on the hit list. We're gonna chain you up to a hospital bed and make sure you die of your condition and don't serve you. Paul Robeson, you will not have any plays here in America. You will not go anywhere else because we think you're a communist. NWA, you will not be a nigga with an attitude. You will be upset. If you sing one of them songs like F the Police, we will arrest you and put you in jail. 2 Live Crew, Me So Horny. You will not tell people how horny you are on air and we will put you in jail. We have a history of black people always being silenced whenever we start doing our thing. It's been there. So,
yes, it has.
So now, I mean, from the ones I just said, we've always had this complicated history that when black people do it, for some reason it's cool when you do it, but it's a problem when I do it, right? And so I just say, buckle your seats up, get your popcorn, open your eyes, because we're about to go on a ride. And like I told people on my Facebook post, welcome to the wall.
Would you say that the Jimmy Kimmel thing is an attack on freedom of speech or his freedom of speech?
He didn't even say he was talking about the assailant. He wasn't even talking about Charlie Kirk. He talked about the assailant could be far right. Yeah. So you're trying to tell me this dude got canned, not because he didn't say, I believe Charlie Kirk deserved what he got. He didn't say, I'm not going to mourn him. All he said is, hey, they're saying the assailant might be far right, and the dude got canned.
He can still say those words. He just lost his show. I don't think it's an attack on his freedom of speech. If Facebook was banned in Scotland,
it is an attack on his freedom of speech if they took his show away.
So if Facebook gets banned from America tomorrow, is that an attack on your freedom of speech?
It depends on why they're banning it. Are they banning it because people are saying things they don't like?
They could just ban it because it promotes hate. Like any reason at all. Facebook tomorrow is banned. Is that attacking your freedom of speech?
Okay.
No, that's a good question. That's a great question.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that, the reason why I say that, Dre, the reason why I say that's a great question is because people use different avenues and channels to get their voice out. We're in a generation. I mean, who here has a newspaper subscription still? Newspaper still comes. Who opens up?
I canceled mine in 2016, right, the day after Trump won.
I'm just saying. See, so a lot of people don't read the newspaper. I will not lie. I get my media through social media. I do not watch the news. All media I get is literally fed to me, and sometimes it's through a narrative, right? And so I like what you said. Is it? And I think it is infringement. And what Dred was saying is it depends on why. Because, you know, if they ban it because like this, TikTok is now being bought out and now is going to change over to a far right algorithm where it used to be a neutral algorithm. If you used to see it, people on the left and right could go viral. No matter how you looked at it, ByteDance literally had it to where, hey, the people in China didn't care who went viral. It was like, if you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. Now you have a far right media, which now takes you back to, we want to censor your speech. I want you to understand, and I really want y'all to really open your eyes. When Trump says he's going to make Antifa a terrorist organization, we understand that Antifa is a thought.
It is a thought. It's a thought.
What he's trying to do, he's trying to make it to where your neighbor could say hate speech, this and that, and you get arrested. In other words, this person's part of Antifa. They're gonna put you. They're gonna make your speech make you part of something that he calls terrorism. So if I say I believe that everyone should eat, somebody next door might say, "What? You believe what?" I believe that everybody should eat. Everybody have this. Oh, you believe everybody should freaking free healthcare? Antifa, hate speech. They should come to my door to arrest me for that and say I'm part of a terrorist organization. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it to the point where they're trying to scare. They're trying to scare. It's a scare. They're trying to scare white America to say if you see anybody doing this, that is terrorist organization. We need to lock them up. So now it's gonna get very choppy here.
It's already happening here, so I totally agree with you, and I'm against that. Like that's what I am against, and trust me, I'm not like the whole Facebook and Jimmy Kimmel thing. I'll be on the lookout for when our speech is being. But Jimmy Kimmel can go and start his own show. That's why I'm saying it's not an attack on his freedom of speech. And I know there's jokes about his ratings were poor and that's why he lost. And obviously, what the bottom line is, ABC have terminated these contracts. So it's not Trump, it's not attack on freedom of speech. It's ABC have said you're not having your show anymore.
Okay, but was ABC, did ABC get that phone call? Like for Joy Reid, MSNBC got the phone call on Joy Reid.
Oh, I don't doubt that things happen.
You know,
and again,
so if more than likely ABC got the phone call, and it is an infringement of freedom of speech.
Yeah, and what
they'll
do?
My question: or in Boston, has Joy Reid went down, or has she went up?
No, you know, and that's the thing. She has gone up, and with Jimmy,
and so Jimmy Kimmel, and so did Shannon Sharp with his own talk show. What I'm trying to say is there are avenues to where these people like Jimmy, if Jimmy Kimmel opened up a YouTube right now, he would probably go viral and have a lot of people there.
Oh yeah, and Joy Reid has, but you have who is it? Dredd, the other person that lost their show. Stephen Colbert. And
yes.
And come on, what's the guy that's now doing the Daily Show? He's back.
Jon Stewart Jon Stewart may be next,
Stewart
right?
and Stephen Colbert. They are getting together to get their own network going.
Yeah.
So there are avenues, but at the same time, it's like people make that phone call. I remember back in the 90s when this person is taboo now, when Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC. It was pretty much a done deal. Bill Cosby was going to buy NBC. And the powers that be, and we all know who the powers that be are, say, oh, nope, can't have him buying in NBC. Oh no. And before Oprah got owned, and I am not an Oprah fan at all, she got together with some other people, got back together with Bill Cosby, all this money, whatever. We gonna go back and we're gonna try to buy NBC again, because NBC was having some problems. They were having some money problems. They didn't have all these big time shows and everything like that. They went back. They were like, oh, no. Can't sell it to y'all.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, but I'm seeing a little pattern there, like with Michael Jackson. Didn't he was going to be the most powerful man in the record industry, and then all these stories came out about what he was doing at Neverland, like Bill Cosby. Yeah. So you see patterns. This is it. And again, what I was going to say about ABC, maybe that phone call was made. I don't think it is. I think they're more organized than just a phone call. But what's happening is a story like that will happen, and the media pounce on it. Oh, freedom of speech is being attacked and all that, to cause division. And it's in Charlie Kirk. There's a famous saying, order from chaos. And that is how the media work. They'll see a story, we can push narratives with that story, and it divides people. And this is why, no disrespect, I always love talking to you guys, but these type of shows are not my favorite, because we sit here, look what happened there, and but that happened to us as well, and this was what I was solving.
I think you're missing the point. I think that and again, we've had these discussions. I think that is tunnel vision on your side, that you're not willing to see. Again, look at look at everything. I mean, the stuff that's going on in the UK right now. It's like, you know, you try to look at everything. You try to look at everything. So it's not where this
I
person's
am, but
trying to.
I
I don't
don't
know.
have to own my history. Like everything that we pull up about riots or wars or things that have happened in the past, that's not me. I don't subscribe to any of those beliefs. I have my own beliefs. I'm a man. I have, strong willed. I've got my strong feelings, but a lot of this stuff is like, we need to draw a line and move forward and fix things rather than talk about things
But
endlessly.
in order to fix them, you have to acknowledge. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Put it like this. Let me see if I can put it like this. You have the school bully who goes to school every day and he picks on either everybody or one or two particular people.
Mhm.
You tell their parents, you go back and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Bully, your child is a bully. They're doing this. Oh no, he's not. You all are just picking on him, or he's just trying to express himself, or he's just more playful than the other kids, whatever. Mr. and Mrs. Bully, your son or your daughter, they're, it's gone beyond the calling names. Now they're taking the lunch. Now they're pushing. Now they're saying, "Oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing." Bam, bam. Mr. and Mrs. Bully, I'm sorry, but I have to inform you that your child was killed today by this other kid. All of a sudden, Mr. and Mrs. Bully are all over the news. Everybody feels sorry for them. Their child was killed because you refuse to acknowledge the problem. You refuse to acknowledge that there's a possibility your son or your daughter is a bully. Now your son or daughter is no longer here. The person who, so you have to acknowledge the problem.
Okay. I've just thought
You
of
have you
something.
have
I've just thought of something that I've never said before, especially to you, and it might actually, hopefully, you take it on board here. It might be a point. Maybe it is that the audience that we're talking to is not the audience that this stuff should be attended for, should be given to. I think a lot of these conversations should be aimed at the governments, the people in power, because you preaching to me about no disrespect slavery, or me talking on podcasts about the Braveheart stuff, Scotland, England, talking to someone of color or talking to someone in Scotland today doesn't make any sense. It's the government, or like if I'm being oppressed with, I'm unemployed, I can't get a job because of something, like talking to someone that's also going through the same hardships as everyone else in the world today. It's redundant. Like here's a better analogy. If I was to move, I've heard this analogy before. If I was to move to Japan, who up until recent years were a very, very they were an ethno state, like very nationalistic. If I was to
Mhm.
walk into Japan and start pushing my weight around, talking online, talking in groups of people, saying, I'm not happy with the way things are here. You people do things wrong. Remember World War II? You guys attacked America, so what do you think would happen?
So, Bob, one thing I want you to understand is the reason why these shows are important is because you're saying this should be for people in power. The thing is, people are supposed to be the ones that can take them out of power. If we truly believe that the people is the power, then the conversation around what we can do and organize and galvanize ourselves into a strength, that is what we're supposed to do. So these conversations should, in other words, are to trigger algorithms so people, when they go and check and say, whoa, what were they talking about this protest thing and everything else? And then what we're saying, what Dred might say, what you might say, what Salah might say, makes people think, and it triggers their mind to think outside of certain circles that they might just be into, right?
Mhm.
And so, and it makes them, and it challenges your mind to think, and maybe when that person goes to the polls, something that Salah might say might have them vote a different way. So these conversations are needed because this is what triggers a person's thought process to thinking on a higher level. Now to try and pull this all the way back into the title, right? This thing about protests. Jimmy Kimmel has now struck a new protest. As Mickey was telling me earlier, that today people are protesting Hulu. People are taking down their Hulu subscriptions to where Hulu's now saying you can get Hulu for $2. Hulu was charging more money, but I'm just trying to show you that is the power of people.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's the fact that it's the fact that people have took their money away from Hulu because of Kimball and says, you know what, fine, you will not get our money. And so because people have now started dropping their Hulu subscriptions and Hulu seeing these $1 billion leaving their pockets, now they're giving deals. In other words, you could have been giving us $2 a long damn time ago, right? I want you to understand this.
No, I get it.
If everybody takes their money out of their Sony subscription, everybody takes their money out of their YouTube subscription. I mean, anything that we all put our subscription into, we want to see the price go down. Everybody take your money out of it, and the price will come down. But we keep on paying for Disney. We keep on paying for Prime. Take our money away from it, watch it come down, and we see. And that's why I say these conversations are important, so we can still control the narrative. It's imperative we control the narrative, baby. We have to have these conversations, solid conversations, your conversation. We have to be had at this level because when people hear the everyday, ordinary people talking about them, we empower them to make those decisions. Yeah, that's right. Council Hulu, everybody. We're gonna drop them down to $1 a month.
That's the conversation I want to be having, and that is I'm not a fan of protests and things. Again, respect to everyone who does. I just don't think meeting in a mass number, because obviously one thing is they usually turn to shit because of small minority idiots making it turn to shit, but I just don't think the government care. They just don't care. We had, depending on who you believe, which side of the media you listen to, either 110,000 or over 1 million people in London last weekend protesting just the state of the UK and the mass immigration. And depending again which side of the media I listen to, these people are racist, fascists, all that kind of stuff. Or if you listen to the other side, it's just good, honest, hardworking British people of all colours, of all shapes and sizes, getting together to protest the government because they're making a shit show of the country, the cost of living, everything. So I'm not a fan of protests. I think just do what Lloyd says. That's proof in the pudding. And Solid, I've often backed you up with your, the black people pulling away from not spending money in these. That's the way to do it. I'd go even further and say stop paying tax. But unfortunately, I mean, they're not going to throw us all in jail. But you go to your employer and you say, yeah, but you could stop paying your council tax, which is something in the UK that is supposed to go to fixing the roads, emptying the bins, the water. Stop paying that. Stop paying your TV license. Stop paying your Hulu. Stop paying, because if you're not happy with it,
you said TV license.
Yeah. What's that?
What is a TV license?
Well, nobody I know pay. I don't pay it, and nobody I know knows pay it. But the older generation, a lot of people that think it's it's £140 a year to watch one channel, the BBC, because during wartime, World War II, the BBC started as a war broadcast and started charging people for just that channel, and they don't have adverts between programs. That's how they justify it. So if you don't pay, you get a letter through your door saying we're going to send someone round to your door and look in your windows, and if you're watching BBC, you can get £1,000 fine. It's ridiculous, but
that's crazy.
I know.
That's so crazy.
This is how you do it. Yeah, you just affect if the government's not doing something and everyone's behind it. Now, again, that's probably where there's good in protest, to see how much numbers are behind a movement. Then just pull your money out, because at the end of the day, they can't do anything without your money. It's not government funded.
That's what I say. Money
funded.
pushes so many things. But real quick, Bob, did you ever look up to see who Eric Little was?
I did that morning. We were talking. You told me. I can't. He was a runner, and he had something wrong with him. I can't remember. I didn't. I was at work. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I'm going to look up that.
I'm just saying that in Scotland, he was one of the best runners that the Olympics have ever had, and I just found this story fascinating.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I don't know. Again, people will look at riots and protests, the revolutions, rebellions. Everyone will have their own take and whatever. But the U.S. has some very important midterm elections coming up in November. I hope everybody participates, and I know how you are about elections, whatever. But I I believe in them. I've never missed an election, even if it's voting for a town hall person. I vote um, uh, because too many people did lose their lives, so I can vote. So I most of it I look at it like that. Um, but we are losing our rights, and before I die, um, I think I'm going to see a different world than when I was born, but basically, but the same world. So things haven't changed much. That they haven't, and people say, "Oh, but you all can do this," and you had a first thing they want to say is you had a black president. Yeah, we had a black president, but it's like, what did? And I was not an Obama fan. I did not get on the Obama bandwagon until almost his second term was almost over. But a lot of the things that that he went through, it was like, seriously, was all that necessary? It wasn't. So whether you believe in George Floyd or Charlie Kirk, whatever, you can believe and do whatever you want to, but when you hurt other people, that's the problem. When you physically hurt, kill people, whatever, that's a problem. So, but anyway, before we go, I have to do, yes, Lloyd, you're gonna see this again. I love playing this video. Okay, so who wants to go first? What pissed you off this week, or what made you happy this week? So who wants to go first? Lloyd? Dread?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I just put in the chat about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, so you know that.
Okay.
So I'll go first. Man, this week, what has pissed me off? You know what? Nothing has pissed me off this week. I have what's made me very happy is this entire month off of TikTok has just been so refreshing, and waking up and reading and the things that I've just been able to just absorb. I'm reading like 8 books right now, going in 9 because I'm about to start this other James Baldwin book tomorrow. So, and just the freshness of getting out of the circular conversations that happen on TikTok has really just been so great. I did a cleanse before I left TikTok, which is a lot of people I would call my TikTok friends. I went ahead and I seen the conversation they were having, and they weren't productive like this one here is. And so I unfollowed a lot of them. And one had called me and said, "Hey, you unfollow me?" I was like, "Yeah, about a month ago. You didn't see it?" And it was like, I said, and I had to be honest with them. And I said, "As you can see, I don't bring you. If it took you that long to understand, I bring you nothing, just like you bring me nothing. And I think that we should have a split. Not saying that we don't like each other. This is not about a battle or beef. It's just we don't have an equitable friendship. That I've been gone this long and you just now notice now I followed you. We don't have, it's not equitable. So I'm fine where I'm at. You should just be fine where you're at. And understand that we never brought each other anything. And I just love the fact that I'm cleaning a lot of people and mess out of my life. And that's why I'm happy.
Dread?
I could go to give you so I can't remember my thing last week, but I did tell you guys I was starting a new job on Monday, and I've felt shitty all week, quite pissed off. The promises that I was given about this new job with the opportunities and shift allowance and overtime and bonuses at the end of every quarter, and none of it was true. So I've felt shitty all week. There was one night I was in the kitchen just as my partner came in the door, and literally she just come in the door and she went, "Oh, what's wrong?" So I've obviously got a face of pain and thunder. Just felt shitty. You know, you make a jump from one job to another thinking it's gonna be great, and you've been promised all this thing. So that's what's pissed me off this week. Yeah.
Okay. Dread, piss you off? Something made you happy?
Well, nothing could piss me off this week because I was on vacation. Okay. I'll say what's making me happy is that I finally just sat still. I work too much. Solid knows this. I work too much. 12, 14, 16-hour days. And for the whole week, I really couldn't give a damn. I slept in. I ate what I wanted. I didn't go to the gym. I just hung around my house and then sat with myself and let my body reset because on Tuesday, I'm moving to a new location as far as job goes. I'm going to be working in New York Penn Station, which is one of the busiest places that I can work in my career. So just preparing my mind and my body for that, and also setting boundaries. I set a boundary with a few people this week. I told people, no, you cannot have $100. No, I'm not answering the phone for you because you always have something going on. So yeah, that made me happy. I was like, hey, F these people and F that job until Tuesday.
Well, I know that I was not on her boundary list because she called me on Wednesday. So, all right. So for me, I had a great week. I had a really, really good week. Business, I got a huge order. I'm really happy about. But one thing is, I go to this one particular market that I really like. Every time I go in there, they have the best music playing. They have the best music playing. So one time I was in there and I started singing, and this woman came, and I'm picking out, my stuff, and she starts singing with me, and we're singing this song. So I'm in the store on Tuesday, and I cook for my dogs. Yes, I do. So I'm at the meat counter, and I'm getting literally some shredded beef for them. And the music was playing, and it was Michael Jackson. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just singing whatever. And I hear this voice. It's the same woman who was singing with me months before. And we start literally singing and dancing in the aisle by the meat counter. Other people start singing, and they start dancing. And when the show was over, we all start laughing. Everybody went their own way. I got my meat, and that was it. So it was like, you have those moments where everybody can come together, and y'all can have fun, and then it's over with, and that's it. And that's how I see a conversation. It's like you should be able to come together, say whatever, and then it's over. Everybody go back.
I'll get a slushie.
A slushy. Go get some prosecco, or whatever. So yeah. So
it's cool.
And Shorty came to town. So yeah. So Shorty and I were hanging out. So yeah. So that was another thing. But Dread and I, we will be in Chi-Town together next year.
Yes.
So
yes. I've never been to Chicago, folks, so I'm looking forward to it because I have this urge to just spread my wings and go. Just go.
Why don't I ever get invited to these trips?
Hey, let's do. Hey, how about let's go to New Orleans? Let's go to Mardi Gras. Huh? Let's get some.
No, I was trying to say, like, y'all running around the whole world, don't even tell nobody. Hey, me and Dred's going. What's the name? You should join.
Well, I will say that I will. It didn't happen this year, but Scotland, I will be there hopefully next year because my son is going to Paris. He asked me to go with him for some art thing. So I know that you all are literally like right next door to each other, for the most part. Yeah. So hopefully I will get there. But I have said that 2026 is I love to travel. I love traveling by myself. I love traveling and meeting up with friends and what have you. But 2026 is going to be my year when I'm really traveling. And Dred is hoot, y'all. But I will tell you this: Dred has a face that when she thinks you're being silly or are you kidding me? I was in New Jersey. I told Dred.
It's this one.
Now this was back in May, and I said I'm bringing a game with me to play.
Oh,
now
here we go.
Okay, so Lloyd, the game that I brought to play. I don't know if you know what this is, but you might. Lloyd, I brought Old Maid.
No, I don't know.
You don't know what Old Maid is, Lloyd? or are you giving me the look? Are you giving me the look?
Old Maid is like.
Okay, so I brought Old Maid.
Hey, Dred, did you play Old Maid?
Oh yeah, she played and our mutual friend, we're both cracking up, laughing, pulling the cards, laughing.
Old Maid.
And Dred is sitting there with her face like, I cannot believe I'm playing this. And at one point, I think you even said, I can't believe I'm playing this shit. and we are cracking up. We're having fun. And we played 2 games. I mean, we were cracking up, and Dred had that look on her face like, I can't believe you brought this game. This game. But sometimes you got to go back to old school to have some fun.
You know what, Lloyd? I'll just be honest. I am a very, very perverted person. Okay. So when she told me I'm bringing a game, I thought it was going to include something raunchy, but Miss Bourgeois over here, and maybe I'm projecting because I did say I'm a pervert. Games like that make me laugh. Nipple flicks and stuff. Like, bro, I know you didn't bring this dice and it's got a hairy testicle on it. Things like that. So when she pulled out Old Maid, I was just like, this is the face. I was just like,
that's hilarious.
Again, I play a mean Uno, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I could have dealt with Uno, but Old Maid.
Well, excuse me. Uno was a choice because the other person brought Uno, but you had that look. So what we ended up doing, Lloyd, because where I was staying there was a casino. So we ended up going down to the casino. I don't gamble. I just sit and watch whatever. So I was watching Dred win her little. How much did you win? Like $40, $50?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So but even then, Lloyd, she's winning money, and she got this look on her face. It's like, and I'm just like, I am just having fun. I am just having fun. So,
wow.
But anyway, y'all,
that's it. It was a great show.
It was. This is great.
Mickey's like, whatever.
Is that obvious?
And Lloyd wants to know why can't I have
$100? That's great. That's
$100. Mickey, we will get together and we'll play some Old Maid. So, all right, y'all. So until next time, I don't know what the show's gonna be about unless somebody sends me a video. But I don't know. Other than that, Peace and Dread. I am glad that you were able to come on, and it's
Same
been a
here.
while, and you were on vacation, so that was good. So until next time, y'all. Thanks for coming.